Welcome to God Seeker. This is Elizabeth Fulgaro. The current message: freedom. God calls us to freedom. It is a standing invitation. It is one of the great appeals of becoming a Jesus follower. Certainly, a huge aspect of this freedom is freedom from physical death. You no longer have to worry about it. The finality of imminent, unavoidable death no longer holds you captive. Yet this is not all. Jesus following offers freedom now, during this life. Now, freedom, from what I mean rightly considered, is not freedom to do whatever you want whenever you want. Therefore, initially to say God gives you freedom may seem like an oxymoron. If becoming a Jesus follower means giving up your own will to submit to God's, how is this freedom? Think about the words we are using, like submit to God and give up your will. This doesn't sound like freedom according to how freedom might be commonly perceived conceptually in the culture of the United States of America in the early 21st century. It sounds like servanthood, or even enslavement, and it is. Of course, by choosing to be a God follower, this new lifestyle of servant or slave is chosen. It is a free will decision. But truly, when we consider the way of God's kingdom, of which as Jesus followers we have become a part, the magnitude of the freedom we have in God even now, this side of heaven, while we have most definitely intentionally put ourselves under Him as boss, which is the meaning of the title Lord, this meaning becomes ever clearer. It is true as Jesus followers, you do not have the freedom to do whatever you want. You are charged with seeking and following, submitting to God's will. But in this is freedom from all the human-designed constraints, musts, have-tos, and standards of achievement and success, which in the end are meaningless. Those ways of thinking society thrusts upon you as if it were the only way to see your life, people, and how you are supposedly valued. Freedom from this. Freedom to pursue God's will singly and enthusiastically. God's will. The plan of the being who created you, who designed you, who has imbued you with purpose to make a contribution during your lifetime, to add to the vibration of His love and truth going out to a desperate world, which is said to be dark because everywhere people seek to place emphasis without God, essentially and ultimately leads to nowhere. It's like stumbling around in the dark, unable to find your way. You can't figure it out. The system for living, which is said to have meaning and lead somewhere, turns out to be a mythical destination, which remains elusive because in reality, it has no substance. Freedom through Christ is also to realize you don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to carry the responsibility for making every supposedly right decision. You do not have to worry about doing everything perfectly according to the standards your society has set for you. You only have one responsibility: to seek God and to seek to listen to Him and follow Him. A major aspect of this is to try to always be in His will. Part of this is to be who He made you to be. That's right. So often, and in so many ways, society and even specific people around us spew human-sourced views and messages that you are perhaps unacceptable in some way, or that you're less than. But this is never what God says. You were made by God of equal value with every other person. You were made by God to be a priceless part of His kingdom, unique. There will be no one else ever like you. You were made to do a particular work in His kingdom, bringing His love to others with whom He surrounds you in a particular God-led way, which His Spirit will work out through you if you are listening. Where people may tell you that you should be different than you are, you have freedom from this. You have freedom through and in Jesus Christ. No, not just freedom, but the obligation to let Him increasingly reveal to you who He made you to be in His plan. Not your good ideas, but his God ideas, in alignment with his word, to be his servant to the people he loves, which is all people, in a very particular regard. Freedom. Freedom from fear of death. Freedom from worry. Freedom from what others think. Freedom to be fully, authentically the God child he made you to be. Freedom to serve him with your life in the way to which he uniquely calls you, in the detail of it that he will lead you by his Spirit. This is what you were made for. Living it out feeds you. It's glorious. Listen to the song, Freedom Comes From You, on the Ascend in Worship album. You can find it on my YouTube channel. Just search under my name, Elizabeth Folgaro, and look for the hundreds of music lyric videos to some of my prayer songs and for many recorded messages, each accompanied by beautiful photographs and videos. Let's finish with some verses from the Bible. This time, let's go to the Old Testament book of Isaiah, who was a prophet, and read in chapter 61, verses 1 through 3. Fascinating is that later, centuries later, Jesus spoke these scriptures himself. Beginning at verse 1, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed and commissioned me to bring good news to the humble and afflicted. He has sent me to bind up the wounds of the brokenhearted, to proclaim release from confinement and condemnation to the physical and spiritual captives, and freedom to prisoners, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance and retribution of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to grant to those who mourn in Zion the following, to give them a turban instead of dust on their heads, a sign of mourning, to give them the oil of joy instead of mourning, the garment expressive of praise instead of a disheartened spirit. So they will be called the trees of righteousness, strong and magnificent, distinguished for integrity, justice, and right standing with God, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Then they will rebuild the ancient ruins. They will raise up and restore the former desolations, and they will renew the ruined cities, the desolations, deserted settlements of many generations. Thank you for joining in. God Seeker messages are sponsored by Eagle's Nest Foundation. Until next time, this is Elizabeth Folgaro. Remember, I am praying for you. Use the song, Freedom Comes From You, as a prayer, and keep seeking God